Hey Jens, how's it going, man?
We're back.
Okay, so we're doing this like special critics, which is kind of a critics and kind of not a critics because it's kind of going to talk about ads and political ads and historically how they've gone. And I'm really excited because we put a little time into this episode and I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, we're not really critiquing two different competing shows here. It's really over time, these styles of how these ads have evolved, kind of, right?
Yep. All right, let's introduce Phil, our English critic. How you doing, guy?
Good
Hello.
afternoon over there, right?
Fine. Yeah, evening. It's getting dark. How are you?
Good. So let's introduce Rachel. Hey, Rachel.
Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome. Thank you everybody who's joining us so far. I will be taking your questions as usual. This, as Bloom said, this could be an interesting topic. So let's try and stay civil in the comments and we will see how it goes. So let's have fun.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with what I consider, although here's where people are just going to flame me, but I'm going to call this the quintessential political ad. And it's from your Lord and Savior, Ronald Reagan. Let's take a look at Morning in America.
It's morning again in America. Today, more men and women will go to work than ever before in our country's history. With interest rates at about half the record highs of 1980, nearly 2,000 families today will buy new homes, more than at any time in the past 4 years. This afternoon, 6,500 young men and women will be married. And with inflation at less than half of what it was just 4 years ago, they can look forward with confidence to the future. It's morning again in America. And under the leadership of President Reagan, our country is prouder and stronger and better. Why would we ever want to return to where we were less than 4 short years ago?
A lot of people don't know that's a Hal Riney ad. For people that don't know, he was a writer and he wrote that ad and he is the voice in that ad. And he also did other like classic ads. They hired the best. I mean, he did that ad, I think it was for the Crocker Bank, where he hired Paul Williams to write We've Only Just Begun. Mm-hmm. And then they later released it as a Carpenter song. And he did the Ernst and Julio Gallo. You remember No Wine Before It's Time. I mean, we know that 40 years later. It's amazing. So the guy's a great writer. Let's talk about the ad.
And yeah, there's beautiful images and all that, but what's different about this ad compared to what's happening now, which we're going to get into, is that it talks a lot about, there's policy in there. There's achievements that they want to go for in this ad. He's kind of going down a list. Even though they're showing beautiful images and things like that. And there's some emotion in there as well.
I actually thought there was a lot of emotion in there. It was like, This is what we've done in a very nice, we've done, not I've done. Mm-hmm. And this is what we would like to do in the future. Mm-hmm. But it was so beautifully made. It made me feel nice. How about you, Phil?
It certainly didn't move me. It didn't make me feel any particularly nice or anything like that, because I have a particular problem with this sort of films or videos, which we'll get onto in a bit, but it's certainly a product of its time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're facing what's really a tragedy. Red tide and the toxic algae bloom are threatening people's livelihoods because the tourist season this summer didn't happen. And in this district, the environment is the economy. My Republican opponent has voted to roll back critical environmental protections. Being with the people who are suffering, that's where leadership happens. We're going to make sure that we lead the nation and the world in clean water and clean air. We can restore our pristine environment. My name is David Holden, and I approve this message.
A way more typical ad, for politics here. This is what you would expect to me. It's not the new breed that we're about to talk about.
Well, it's not a negative ad.
No, it's not negative.
Yeah.
I mean, there are positive and negative ones, but that are typical. And again, they're just sort of, he's just going through a laundry list of problems that he claims he's going to solve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing emotional about this one, really, except a few those horrible images, if that gets to you, maybe.
Well, he had a longer version, which was actually more powerful, where he really got into the whole clean water thing. He showed sort of dead fish and talked about this red ocean thing.
It's more of a shock value thing, right?
No, I think that he tried to appeal to people that were liberal, obviously. Phil, what do you think?
I don't really get the who it's for. So if you have the people who are already going to vote for Democrats, it's not going to affect them in the slightest. The people who are going to vote Republican aren't going to be swayed by anything like that. And if you are swayed by a video like that, then that's an issue as well, because I don't know who could be swayed by like that. It's just, we see so many of these things. People believe everything they see without looking at any facts or anything like that. I'm sure it's honest, and it does concern me, this whole concept of these propaganda videos, because it is a propaganda video. And because I come from a news background, I spent 17 years working at Sky News, and we have a very unique position in British TV. Where British TV News, where we have to be impartial. Newspapers can be partisan, but TV News in the UK is governed by law that if we are shown to be biased, then you get fined and blah, blah, blah. So, having spent 17 years just talking about facts, I find anything other than that quite frustrating. And is it always unbiased? Absolutely not, because it's impossible to be completely unbiased because we're human beings. Mm-hmm. And as human beings, we have our personal opinions. And it is difficult. And as a documentary filmmaker, you've got to find that ability to actually put your feelings, your personal opinions aside and let your subject tell the story. But even then in the edit, it's almost impossible to disassociate your opinions from your edits, even subconsciously. Your choice of imagery here and there, will sway people because of the power of images, and it is a very, very tricky thing.
I do agree with you about, how do you control how people do their research, but that's where these campaigns are trying to win over the undecided votes by throwing out this, what you call propaganda, or, their side of the story or whatever.
What sort of style do you think, guys, actually works the most on Americans? Is it these sort of slick, filmic type pieces, or is it these hard-hitting messages, or is it simply negative campaigning? Which has the most power?
No, it's dependent on the crowd, dude. I mean, I can't tell you that. In other words, a conservative crowd might just want affirmations about, exactly what they want to hear. A liberal crowd may want to be moved. They both may want to be moved. I don't know. I think people, if they knew, then all the ads would be the same. Let's do this.
But there must be a way of at least knowing which are the most successful ones, because which are the ones which affect the opinion polls after airing, for example.
Oh, well, that's a good, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, in other words, did he win or did he not win, and how effective was that ad at making him win? But there's bigger issues here. Those are television ads. We're going to be talking about other forms of marketing and advertising which have led to a whole new breed of candidate that took over the House in this country. They didn't have the money to do television ads.
10-4 BPA TV unit, we have 2 females in the Dry Creek bed, over.
Some bodies running here just west of the Flossy Arena. Some brush line going up to the yellow gate, see if they're crossing anywhere here.
Right there, stop right there, stop. That's going to be there to your right. There should be 2 bodies there.
Nada, ya estamos aquí. Tenga agua, tenga agua. Vente, dame la mano, cuidado. ¿Están bien? ¿Están heridos, verdad? ¿No tienen nada? No. Párense, por favor. ¿Todo bien? ¿Ya llegó ayuda?
No.
Déjala. You clear? You good to go? Todo está bien, todo está bien.
No, mamá, no.
Female, early 30s, daughter, 10 years old, being transported to the detention center for holding. Over.
vamos a ir al festival ahorita. César, viendo al gato.
That is intense.
It's powerful.
I mean,
regardless what side of the opinion you're on with immigration, it's still a powerful message.
when I first saw this, I had no idea that was a political ad. I thought this was some indie movie.
Yeah.
We got Rod here. Let's introduce Rod, who actually made the ad. Rod, dude, that was amazing.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you.
Nice work.
My critique on that is, looks great, sounds great.
I really appreciate it.
Moved me. Now, how did it all happen, and what was the deal?
Yeah, so Philip hit on the head. So this was a made-for-film competition created by Richard Linklater, a couple other filmmakers, Robert Rodriguez, Ethan Hawke, and of course they're all supporters of Beto O'Rourke here in Texas. And they put together this contest. They wanted ads or films, that would, you basically would pick a topic or anything that was going on, and you create a film about it or a short ad. So you had a choice of 30 seconds or up to 3 minutes. And so we went for the 3-minute one, and we went out to West Texas over a weekend with some friends, and we shot this. So, but yeah, you're right. It is for a film competition that so wasn't specifically for Beto.
Is it in use now as an ad?
Well,
it's not. It is. It's not.
Oh, what a shame.
Our thinking was, so when we were thinking about, joining this project or doing this is, okay, so we have a whole line of cinematographers, great filmmakers that are behind this project. So maybe they're going to want to see something really filmic. And so that's where we put all of our eggs into that basket. And what ended up winning was, some little funny little ad. And that's what took home the grand prize.
You mean a little more traditional ad, or just a more comedic one?
It was comedic, traditional ad.
I can't believe it, because if people saw this, I don't see how
that
they
candidate
can't
might have
moved.
gone in.
Well, this candidate's got a future, so we'll see what happens.
He didn't win on this one, did he? And that if they'd put your film on, maybe that he would have won. I mean, it's very cool, and it is very powerful. It works really well, but then you've also got to know that there's actually, this is obviously actors, but you could also go down the way of the real people who've been through it, which arguably would be more powerful as well. So, it works very well for what it is, but I don't think it will sway anybody, to be honest with you, who's already made up their opinion about immigration. It's a very strong subject in the UK as well, and it's incredibly polarizing. You don't talk about it because you fall out, because you have such completely different opinions, and you cannot believe the other person thinks this, how you can see the facts and go, this is actually okay. And so it's a very difficult time. It's a very difficult time in both your country and in mine.
I mean, you're right in a way that you're never going to convince the hardliners on either side, but I don't think that's what these commercials are aiming to do. They're either trying to please your current base and say, yep, you're right, I'm voting for the right guy, or win over the ones that are undecided. That's all it could be.
I disagree. When he created this law of separating families, and his own wife and daughter said, this has to stop, and he stopped it. An ad like this that so moves you to really see this issue as to what it is could change opinions.
We really wanted just to, show some facts and what's really going on the border. And, Philip mentioned that, these were actors, and they're not actually actors. They're just really close friends of mine. The woman is married to the Border Patrol agent. And my sister, they own a ranch on the border of Mexico, and that's where we filmed. And we just did this with a group of friends over a weekend. And it's not too far off that, it was our parents or our grandparents that were trying to come over for a successful life in America. And so when we named it Torn, not only was the little girl being torn away from her mother and her family, but it's the Border Patrol agent too. He was only doing his job. I'm hoping you can see that he was torn in what he had to do taking this little girl away from his daughter because he knows what it was like.
Were those real Border Patrol guys?
It was not just the real uniform.
All right, I want to roll this last clip because I want to talk about this type of ad and how this could be the future of advertising.
For years, political advertising has looked like this.
I'm Paul Ryan, and I approve this message.
But more recently, they're starting to look like this. Like movies. They have an ultra-wide screen ratio, feature dramatic handheld footage, and limit on-screen text. These new ads are usually more than 4 times longer than a typical broadcast ad. They also cost less and skirt some regulations. These changes are all in the service of allowing candidates to tell a different kind of story than we've seen in most political ads. So what's driving this change? A lot of this has to do with distribution. These ads are on the internet, where distribution is cheap or even free. For some, less distribution cost means there's more to spend on producing the ad itself.
Broadcast TV gets exorbitantly expensive as we get closer to the election.
These ads can go viral, gaining national attention and millions of views. And the cost of distribution can be next to nothing. Another incentive for campaigns, PACs, and nonprofits to produce this new type of ad? Internet ads are limited by fewer regulations. The Federal Election Commission regulates political ads based on a law passed in 2002, well before the internet was seen as a prominent medium for campaign advertising. As a result, regulations around internet ads are muddy. The Stand By Your Ad provision defines specific requirements for how much screen real estate a candidate and text must occupy. There's nothing as specific for ads distributed over the internet. This gives ad producers a lot more freedom.
That guy is talking about you. That is your ad he just described.
I hope they start going that way. I love seeing something a little bit different and something different from the current political ads we're seeing.
Well, what I love is that this is everybody in our industry is always like, how do I get work, this, that, and the other thing. This is a whole new avenue for going after work. I mean, you're not going to get millions of dollars to do these ads, but you're going to get to do something incredible. You made a little teeny short film. It was beautiful. It was moving. And who doesn't want to do that? That's all we've ever wanted to do, remember?
Filmmakers, they'd rather do that than just a talking head. Let me ask you a quick question, though. The person that did win this contest, was that then put on air, or was it for the internet?
It was for the internet. I never did see it on broadcast.
Right, okay. Well, I was going to say, I wonder if they didn't pick yours because it could not be aired according to the current laws.
Well, but wait, why couldn't he have just given his to Buto and he could have used it?
On the internet.
Yeah, he could have just used it, right?
Yeah, I talked to him afterwards, and he came up to me and said he really enjoyed it. We talked about, a little bit about the process, and that was pretty much it. They didn't use it.
So what they're saying on that that video we just saw, so if they're on the internet as they are, do they actually have to say that they're made for a candidate?
No, there are no regulations, hardly any for.
So that's the sort of the worrying aspect. The filmmaking aspect for me says, oh well, that's really lovely, but the worrying aspect is it will come up in your feed on Facebook, whatever, and you'll watch it, and you won't know you're watching effectively propaganda. If this is a political advert, it needs to be stated. For political adverts here, certainly on TV, they have to say right at the beginning that it is,
right,
and what it is, and at the end. And the internet is our primary source of consumption of media these days.
That's a mistake.
So
I disagree.
That's a mistake, though.
Look, you're treating, now we're going to that nanny state thing. It's like, that's up for them to watch that ad. And if they make a determination that...
You can't trust people, Steve.
Oh,
you can't
my
trust people.
That's ridiculous.
No, because you all you need to do, I know you're not on Facebook much, but all you need to do is go onto Facebook, look at any news feed on Facebook, and click on the comments, and you'll just want to kill yourself, because this is what people think. Like, oh my God. So you need people to understand.
I watch Fox and I want to kill myself.
No,
that is
no. You just need. It's just the comment section of what people actually say. You just have to look at Twitter and the replies you get to say Donald Trump. But my point is that I think I have no problem with this, and I'm not saying it's a nanny state thing. I'm just saying that I think there needs to be transparency as to what you're watching. Well, the same way that we have adverts, there's a big stink going on right now about influencers on social media not stating that what you're looking at is a paid-for advert. And so that I think that anything that is a paid-for commercial or advert should be stated. I think it's ethically the right thing to do.
But it's the internet. It's the Wild West. I mean, that's an unregulated space. People need to be educated not to trust the internet.
Is this show trustable?
No, not at all. What are you talking about?
It's online.
People can make their
We're
own
on Facebook.
their own opinions.
You cannot believe this show is fake news, Steve. This isn't real.
But
it's on Facebook. It can't be real.
I mean, people, my God, we have to tell them this is an ad, this is this. Can't we have a little bit where we figure it out ourselves, for God's sake?
Well, you got to do your own due diligence.
Yes.
You know.
I believe in, and this is the rules with Instagram and Facebook, which is the same company, is if you are an advert, it needs to state it.
They may make those laws in the future, but still, that does not change this technique. You know what I mean? I still think it's going to be the future of ads, whether they have to put a little thing at the bottom that says this was an ad or campaign thing or whatever.
It has the guy's name on it, for God's sakes. What more do you need? That's obviously his opinion.
At the
end,
end,
but Phil wants it at the beginning.
Well, I don't know, but whatever. I'm just saying, all this talk, I don't think will change this direction that it might be going in.
It's a form of censorship. I don't like it. But anyways,
I think
this
question. One interesting point is, as a filmmaker, and Rod, I'd like to ask this of you as well, is
sure.
I don't know what your political leanings are, but if somebody who opinions you didn't follow, offered you a very lucrative gig to make a beautiful film with a huge budget and everything you want to do, would you make it?
So after this came out, I got 3 calls, 2 from candidates, people that I wouldn't support and don't support, and 1 of the same political party as I am, and I agree with their views. And I turned those 2 down. So even though I walked away potentially with 3 gigs, I only took 1.
Ethical cat.
Quite right. Good man.
I don't know that I'm that ethical. I'm a businessman. I don't know. It's like, I believe I can do, well, first off, I don't belong to any particular party anyways. I voted for people in both parties. So now what you're saying, Phil, is if there's a movie that you are asked to be in and you don't particularly like the content of the movie, you're going to take a pass?
I think that's a big difference, because this is politics, and this can actually make a difference to people's lives, whereas watching a movie that you don't like the plot of and being in it is a bit different. So
fair enough.
I'm like Rod. I wouldn't take money and do a job about something I didn't believe in, whether it was actually politics or as a commercial, something I wouldn't believe in. I don't believe in. I think it's important to have these ethics. Otherwise, I just think it defines us, and I think we need to be able to just be happy and proud of our stance in life. And I just feel that. And I think Rod has done the right thing there. Whilst these other 2 candidates could have given him some fantastic work, it's the sort of thing you'd want to not put on your CV, which says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud you for picking and choosing. But if you have a company, where that's your business to make political ads, I think you need to try to do both. You know what I mean? But you're in a little different situation. You're an independent guy. You can decide on what you want to do.
Yeah. I think it's good, Steve. I think that's a good point that Steve made. I think if you have a company, I think you should ideally make something for both sides, which makes you
that was me, by the way,
more of a rounded.
No, I said that originally.
Sorry.
But actually, I could flip-flop on that, because look at when we used to do all the stuff with Axelrod, which is as a matter of fact, this neighborhood that we're in happens to be the hub of political strategy companies, right on both sides of our building here.
Axelrod got his hair cut in our building.
Yeah. So Axelrod is one company. He's not part of it anymore. And then Edelstein's another. And they both used to be here renting equipment all the time. But now it was all liberal strategy. There is no conservative strategy being done here. But we had that conversation maybe 10 years ago. You said, if there was a conservative company, would you rent to them? And what did I say?
I don't remember what you said.
Hell yeah, I would. I don't give a shit.
Of course, right.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Well, and I didn't say no to renting to them. You know what I mean?
Thank God.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't make financial sense.
I know.
It's a business.
Rod, I want to thank you for being here. I really, really, really enjoyed your ad. I have no idea why they did not pick that as the winner. And I feel bad that he didn't get to use that, because, like Phil said, that could have made a difference. That moved the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm. But it was one issue.
Thank you so much,
to hit more.
Yeah, well done, Rod. It's a really lovely film, and I'm sure that's going to bring you lots of good work, which is going to make you proud of being a filmmaker.
Oh, nicely put.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. I mean, and just real quick, I've been watching, critics for years and years. And so just to be here with you guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me today.
Oh my God, it's our pleasure. Cool. Okay, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for your chats. Thank you to ICANN, who provide all the lighting for our show, and to Rode Mics and Kessler Crane, who are our sponsors. Next week's show will be totally different. We are talking about screenwriting with Jill Bremenschneider. So we will see you there. Have a good week. Bye-bye.